Nadia Sloane's phone vibrated in her palm, right as the officiant asked her the question. Not the first buzz of the day. Not some harmless group chat. This vibration felt sharp, urgent, like it had teeth. Nadia's smile stayed on her face for half a second longer than it should have, and then it happened. The warmth drained out of her eyes so fast the bridesmaids behind her noticed. Grant Harlow, the groom, squeezed her fingers like a reminder. Like a warning. Nadia glanced down. One text. Unknown number. 3 words that turned her blood cold. Don't say yes. And under it, a photo loaded, grainy, crooked, taken in a hurry. It was a document. Her name, her signature, and a bold line she had never seen before. Irrevocable power of attorney, effective immediately upon marriage. Nadia's throat tightened. The church around her didn't change. The flowers didn't vanish. The music didn't stop. But suddenly the aisle felt longer. The stained glass windows felt like eyes, and the air felt too thin to breathe. Grant leaned closer, still smiling for the guests. Everything okay? Nadia didn't answer, because the question wasn't everything okay. The question was, who was trying to stop her wedding, and why did they know exactly what she had signed? 2 days earlier, Nadia had been in the bridal suite, laughing at how her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The suite smelled like hairspray, powder, and roses. Her dress hung from a tall mirror, like a promise. Outside the window, the city looked calm and bright, like it didn't know anyone could be ruined in a single day. Nadia had never been the kind of woman who believed in perfect stories. She believed in planning. She believed in checklists. She believed that if you stayed organized long enough, you could outrun chaos. That belief came from the way she grew up. Nadia didn't have the kind of childhood people wrote songs about. She had foster homes, case workers, a suitcase with a broken zipper. She learned early that love could be real and still disappear without warning. The one constant in her early life had been a small silver locket her mother left behind. Nadia didn't remember her mother's face clearly anymore, just a warm voice and hands that smelled like soap. But she remembered the locket. On the inside, there was a tiny engraving. Bluebell. No last name. No date. Just that word. She wore it under her shirt every day. Even now. Even as a bride. It was the only thing that made her feel like she belonged to herself. When Nadia met Grant, she told herself she was being careful. Grant wasn't just charming. He was precise. He remembered small details. He showed up on time. He spoke about the future, like it was something he could build with his hands. He brought her coffee the way she liked it, without being told twice. He also had money. Not loud money. Not gold watch money. Quiet, polished money. The kind that didn't need to prove itself. He worked in finance. Risk management, he'd said the first time. The second time, he called it protecting value. The third time, when Nadia asked what that really meant, he smiled and said, keeping people safe from the worst-case scenario. The words should have comforted her, but something in Nadia always leaned toward fear. Not the kind that screamed, the kind that whispered, "What are you missing?" Still, she let herself believe, because Grant made believing feel like rest. He met her friends. He introduced her to his mother, Celeste Harlow, at a dinner that looked like a magazine spread. White linen, soft lighting, a table too large for the number of people sitting at it. Celeste smiled a lot, but her smile never reached her eyes. She looked Nadia up and down like she was checking a label on clothing. "You have an interesting background," Celeste said, stirring her tea slowly. "Very resilient." Nadia heard what she didn't say. "You are not one of us." Grant touched Nadia's knee under the table like a calming hand. "Mom," he warned gently. Celeste laughed, light as a bell. "Oh, I'm impressed, darling. Truly. It's just marriage is a lot of responsibility." She leaned in slightly. "Grant has worked hard for what he has. I'm sure you understand." Nadia smiled. "I do." And she meant it, because Nadia had worked hard too. She had built a life from scraps. She ran events for a living. She turned empty rooms into celebrations. She made people feel special for a day, and she was proud of that. When Grant proposed, it wasn't loud. He did it in a quiet garden, on a day that smelled like rain. Nadia cried harder than she expected. Not because she needed a ring, Because someone had chosen her. Fully. Publicly. Without conditions. At least, that's what she believed. The first crack appeared as something small. A man. Nadia noticed him in the hotel lobby during a tasting appointment. He didn't look like a guest. He didn't look like staff either. He was older, maybe in his late 50s, wearing a plain dark jacket. He held a thin folder close to his chest like it mattered. His hair was mostly gray, his face lined, but his eyes were sharp and restless. He watched Nadia. Not in a creepy way, in a worried way. When Nadia turned toward him, his gaze dropped quickly, as if he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't. Grant noticed too. Grant's jaw tightened for the smallest moment before the smile returned. "Who's that?" Nadia asked lightly. Grant shrugged. "Probably someone from the venue. Don't stress." But when the man stood and started walking toward Nadia, Grant stepped forward like a wall. The man stopped 2 steps away. His voice was low, careful. "Miss Sloane." Nadia blinked. "Yes." Grant's hand slid to Nadia's waist, possessive and soft. "Can we help you?" The man's eyes flicked to Grant. Something like recognition passed over his face. Then the man forced a polite smile. "I'm sorry," he said. "I thought you were someone else." He turned to leave. Nadia's instinct reached after him. "Wait." But Grant guided her forward. "Come on, love. Our appointment." As they walked away, Nadia looked back once. The man had stopped near the front doors. He stared after them with the kind of look you give a car when you know the brakes are about to fail. That night, Nadia couldn't sleep. Not because she was nervous about Vows. Because she kept thinking about that man's eyes. The next day, the second crack appeared. It came inside a gift bag. Nadia's maid of honor, Tessa, was the kind of friend who showed love through jokes and honesty. She was also the kind of friend who didn't trust rich men with perfect hair. While they were sitting among wedding invitations and ribbon samples, Tessa reached into her purse and pulled out a small velvet pouch. "What's that?" Nadia asked. Tessa bit her lip. "Okay, don't freak out." Nadia's stomach tightened. "Tessa." Tessa placed the pouch in Nadia's hand. "This came for you at my apartment. No return address. Just your name." Nadia opened it. Inside was a USB drive. Plain. Black. No label. Nadia stared at it like it might bite her. Tessa lowered her voice. "Someone's playing games. Don't plug it into your laptop." Nadia swallowed. "Did anyone see who dropped it?" Tessa shook her head. "No." Nadia felt a familiar coldness creep up her spine. The old foster home feeling. The feeling of being watched. She forced a laugh. Maybe it's some wedding video thing. But when she looked up, Tessa wasn't laughing. Tessa's eyes were serious. "Nadia, do you trust him?" Nadia's throat tightened. "Yes." Tessa nodded slowly, like she wanted to believe her. "Okay. Just promise me you'll read every word of whatever you sign." "Every word." Nadia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I always do." And that's what made the next part so frightening. Because Nadia had read the prenup. Or she thought she had. Grant's lawyer had sent it over weeks ago. It was thick. Legal. Boring. Nadia had sat with her own lawyer. Paid more than she wanted to. And listened while the words got translated into human language. It wasn't unfair. It protected Grant's premarital assets. It protected Nadia's future income. It had normal clauses, normal disclaimers. Nadia signed. She remembered the pen. The crisp paper. The way Grant kissed her forehead afterward and said, "Thank you for being mature about this." She remembered thinking, this is what safe love looks like. Now, 2 days before the wedding, she held a mystery USB drive from a stranger, and she didn't feel safe at all. The third crack, the crisis, came the night before the wedding, when Nadia went back to the venue alone. She told Grant she needed to drop off seating cards. That was true. What she didn't tell him was that she needed to breathe in the empty space and remind herself she wasn't trapped. The church was beautiful. Warm lights, tall arches, white flowers arranged like clouds. Nadia walked down the aisle alone, holding a box of place cards. Halfway down, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned. The older man from the lobby stood near the entrance. He looked startled that she turned so fast, like he'd been hoping to speak without being noticed. Nadia's heart pounded. You. The man raised his hands slightly in a calming gesture. Please don't call anyone. Nadia tightened her grip on the box. Who are you? The man swallowed. His eyes moved to her chest, where the chain of her locket sat. You still have it, he murmured. Nadia froze. What did you just say? The man's face softened with something that looked like pain. The locket. Nadia's fingers went instinctively to the chain under her collarbone. How do you know about that? Her voice was sharp now. Who are you? The man stepped closer, slow, careful. My name is Adrian Vale. The moment he said it, something inside Nadia pulled tight, because she knew that name. Not from memory. She didn't remember enough to know names. But she had seen it. Once. On an old document she found in a file when she turned 18 and demanded her case records. A signature. A witness line. Adrian Vale. Her breath caught. You were in my file. Adrian flinched, like her words hit him. Yes, he said quietly. And I shouldn't be here. But you're about to marry the wrong man. The church suddenly felt too big, too echoing. Nadia forced herself to stand still. You don't know anything about my life. Adrian's voice shook. I know enough. He took a step forward. Your mother. Nadia's stomach dropped. Don't. Adrian stopped, face tight with regret. I'm sorry. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because I failed her once, and I won't fail you. Nadia's heart hammered. What are you talking about? Adrian looked around the empty church, like he was afraid the walls could listen. Then he lowered his voice. Grant Harlow isn't marrying you for love, he said. He's marrying you for control. Nadia laughed, sharp and disbelieving. That's crazy. Adrian's eyes held hers. Read what you signed again. Nadia's throat tightened. I read it. Adrian shook his head once. You read what they wanted you to read. Nadia felt anger rise, hot and protective. Why are you doing this? Who sent you? Are you trying to blackmail him? Adrian's face pinched. No, I'm trying to save you. He reached into his folder and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. He didn't step closer. He didn't shove it into her hands. He held it out like an offering. Nadia stared at it. Then she shook her head. I'm not taking anything from a stranger. Adrian's voice went softer. You're not taking it from a stranger. You're taking it from someone who owes you the truth. Nadia's hands trembled. She didn't take it, but she looked closer. On the top of the page was a heading. Addendum, attached to premarital agreement. And under it, in the body text, were words that made Nadia's skin turn cold even from a distance. Power of attorney. Financial authority. Medical authority. Effective upon marriage. Irrevocable without spouse consent. Nadia's mouth went dry. That's not, she started. Adrian's eyes shone with urgency. That's what you signed. Nadia's head spun. No, I would have seen. Adrian's voice cut gently. They bury it. They attach it at the end. They switch pages. They use the same font, same margins, so you don't notice the difference until it's too late. Nadia's chest tightened. Who is they? Adrian's jaw clenched. Grant. His mother. Their lawyer. Their circle. Nadia stepped back, dizzy. Adrian took a careful step forward. Nadia, listen to me. Once you're married, if you ever try to leave him, he can say you're unstable. He can move money. He can lock accounts. He can control your name, your voice, your choices. Nadia's eyes stung. Why would he do that to me? Adrian's voice lowered to a whisper. Because of what you are. Nadia's throat tightened. I'm not anything. Adrian's gaze flicked to her locket again. You are the last loose end in a story they thought they buried. Nadia's breath caught. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, making her jump. Adrian flinched too. Nadia pulled it out. A missed call from Grant. Then another. Then a text. Where are you? Nadia stared at the screen, her chest tight. Adrian's voice was urgent now. He tracks you. Nadia blinked. What? Adrian swallowed. He tracks your phone. If he knows you're here with me. Nadia backed away, fear rising into anger. No, he wouldn't. Adrian's eyes held hers. Nadia, you don't know him the way you think you do. Nadia's mouth opened, But no words came, because deep down, there had always been moments. Tiny ones. A question Grant asked that felt too specific. A friend he insisted she stop talking to. A sudden mood shift when she wanted privacy. She had called it love. But maybe it had been control wearing a pretty face. Nadia's hand shook. Adrian lifted his palm soft. I'm not asking you to ruin your wedding tonight. I'm asking you to protect yourself. Nadia's voice cracked. How? Adrian's eyes turned hard with purpose. You don't confront him alone. You don't accuse him without proof. You get evidence. Nadia swallowed. What evidence? Adrian pointed gently toward the altar, toward the quiet space where her vows would happen tomorrow. The truth, he said. In writing. In files. In signatures. In their trail. Nadia's heartbeat thundered. Why are you helping me? Adrian's face tightened. Because your mother begged me to keep you safe. Nadia froze. My mother is dead. Adrian closed his eyes for a second. I know. Nadia's voice went small. Then how would she? Adrian opened his eyes again, wet with something he was fighting to hide. She begged me before, he said. Before everything went wrong. Nadia's throat tightened until it hurt. What happened? She whispered. Adrian's jaw clenched. Not here. Nadia's phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Grant. Unknown number. Nadia's breath caught. She looked down. One text. Tomorrow. During vows. Watch your phone. Nadia's stomach dropped. She looked up at Adrian. His face went pale. He whispered, They know I'm here. Nadia backed away, panic rising. What do I do? Adrian's voice was low, sharp with urgency. Go home. Act normal. Don't let them see you're afraid. Nadia shook her head. I can't. Adrian stepped closer, eyes intense. Yes, you can. You've survived worse than this. You're stronger than you think. Nadia's fingers went to her locket again. Adrian's voice softened for 1 second. And Nadia, if you need to know I'm real, if you need to know you can trust me. He swallowed. Say Bluebell, he whispered. If I answer the right way, you'll know I'm telling you the truth. Nadia stared at him. Bluebell. Adrian nodded. It's what your mother called you when she was scared. Nadia's heart stuttered. She didn't remember that, but the way he said it made something in her chest ache like a memory trying to wake up. Nadia took a shaky breath. Bluebell, she whispered. Adrian's eyes softened, and he answered without hesitation. Still standing, he said quietly, even when the wind pushes. Nadia's breath caught, because that phrase, still standing, hit her like a half-remembered lullaby. Her hands trembled. Adrian stepped back, as if giving her space to decide. Tomorrow, he said, when your phone buzzes, don't ignore it. Then he turned and disappeared through the side door of the church, like a man who knew how to vanish before trouble arrived. Nadia stood alone in the aisle, holding a box of place cards like it could keep her grounded. And in the silence of that beautiful church, she realized something she hadn't let herself admit before. She was about to marry into a family that had secrets. And those secrets were circling her like a closing net. On the wedding morning, everything moved like a dream that didn't ask if she was ready. Makeup artists touched her face. Hairpins clicked into place. Bridesmaids laughed. Phones flashed. Someone adjusted her veil. Someone else sprayed perfume in the air. Nadia smiled when she was supposed to smile. She nodded when she was supposed to nod. But inside her, she was counting. Counting exits. Counting faces. Counting the moments Grant wasn't watching. Grant texted her sweet things. Can't wait. You look perfect. I love you. Celeste sent a message too. Proud of you. Today you become family. The words should have felt warm. They didn't. They felt like a door locking. Nadia tried to get her own copy of the prenup packet. Her lawyer's office didn't answer calls. Her emails bounced once, then delivered, then went silent. Tessa noticed. You're pale. Tessa whispered while adjusting Nadia's necklace. What's wrong? Nadia forced a smile. Just nerves. Tessa's eyes held hers. Nadia. Nadia swallowed. She didn't want to ruin the day based on fear and a stranger's warning. So she did the cautious thing. She waited for proof. At the church, guests filled the pews. The music started. Nadia stood behind the doors, holding her bouquet, listening to her own breathing. Grant waited at the altar, handsome, calm, smiling like the world had already given him what he wanted. Celeste sat in the front row like a queen, and as Nadia stepped forward to walk down the aisle, she felt the locket against her skin like a heartbeat. Halfway down, she caught sight of Adrian. He stood near the back, partly hidden behind a pillar, dressed like an ordinary guest. But his eyes were on her like a guard. Nadia's pulse spiked. Adrian's gaze flicked down, toward her hand, toward where her phone was tucked behind the bouquet ribbon, as if reminding her, "Watch it." When she reached the altar, Grant took her hands and smiled like everything was perfect. "Hey," he murmured softly, only for her. "You okay?" Nadia nodded. The officiant spoke about love, commitment, trust. Nadia listened as if from far away. Then came the moment. The question. The one that would change her name on paper. The one that would change her life, in ways she didn't yet understand. "Nadia Sloan," the officiant said warmly. "Do you take Grant Harlow?" Her phone buzzed. Nadia's smile stayed for half a breath. Then she looked down. Unknown number. "Don't say yes." The photo loaded. The power of attorney. Her signature. Her name. A bold line she had never seen. Nadia's throat tightened. Grant's fingers squeezed hers again. Harder this time. "Everything okay?" he whispered, still smiling for the crowd. Voice gentle but sharp underneath. Nadia's mind raced. If the photo was real, it meant someone had access to her legal documents. If someone had access, it meant Adrian wasn't bluffing. If Adrian wasn't bluffing, then Grant wasn't the man she thought he was. Nadia felt the room sway slightly. The officiant waited, smiling awkwardly, thinking the bride was just emotional. Grant leaned closer, smile still fixed. "Put your phone away," he murmured. "People are watching." Nadia looked up, and for the first time that day, she saw it. Not love, not nervousness. A flicker of anger, small, controlled, but real. Grant's eyes were asking a question, too. "Are you going to obey me?" Nadia's heart pounded. The church felt too quiet. She forced her lips to move. She began. And then she stopped, because a new message came in. Another unknown number. One line. "Page 7. Ask for your copy. Now." Nadia's fingers went numb. Grant's grip tightened again. "Say it," he whispered, smile locked. Nadia turned her head slightly, as if adjusting her veil. Her eyes found Adrian at the back. Adrian's face was tight with urgency. He lifted his hand subtly and tapped his own chest once, then pointed toward Celeste. Nadia's breath caught. Celeste was watching Nadia like a hawk, not smiling, waiting. The officiant cleared his throat gently. "Nadia." Nadia swallowed. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Before I answer, can I see the documents I signed again?" A ripple moved through the guests. Tiny murmurs. Confused glances. Soft laughter from someone who thought it was a joke. Grant's smile didn't break, but his eyes flashed. "Babe, now." Nadia kept her face calm. "Yes. Now." Celeste's mouth tightened. Grant's jaw worked once. The officiant blinked. "I'm sorry." Nadia raised her phone slightly. Not enough for the crowd to see the screen, but enough for Grant to notice she wasn't bluffing. Grant's smile became sharper. "Nadia," he whispered. "We can talk after." Nadia's voice stayed calm, but it shook at the edges. "No. We talk now." Grant's gaze flicked toward his mother for a fraction of a second. Celeste stood up. She moved with smooth confidence toward the front like she had rehearsed this moment. "My dear," Celeste said softly, "weddings are emotional. Let's not embarrass ourselves." Nadia's stomach clenched. "Embarrass ourselves. Not are you okay? Not what do you need?" Control. Celeste leaned closer, voice sweet. "Give me your phone. It's probably spam." Nadia held her phone tighter. Grant's voice dropped, still smiling outwardly. "Hand it to her, Nadia." Nadia looked at Grant, and something inside her, something old, something survival-shaped, woke up. She had been told to hand things over her whole life. Hand over your trust. Hand over your story. Hand over your peace. She didn't want to hand over herself. Nadia stepped back half a step, creating space between her and Grant. Then she did the one thing she never expected to do in a wedding dress. She spoke to the room. "Is there a copy of the marriage documents here?" she asked, voice clear enough to carry. The church fell silent. Grant's smile froze. Celeste's face tightened. One of Grant's groomsmen shifted uncomfortably. And then, unexpectedly, Tessa stood up from the front row, voice strong. "There should be," Tessa said. "It's standard." Nadia's chest tightened with relief. Grant's eyes narrowed at Tessa, like she had betrayed him. Celeste lifted her chin. "This is inappropriate." Nadia looked at the officiant. "Please, before I answer, I need to see what I signed." The officiant hesitated, then nodded slowly, unsure but trying to be respectful. I can ask the coordinator," he said. Celeste's hand shot out and grabbed the officiant's arm lightly, smiling too wide. "No need. We'll handle it." Grant leaned in toward Nadia, voice low, urgent now. "What is this?" Nadia's voice shook. "I got a message." Grant's eyes flicked to her phone. "From who?" Nadia swallowed. "I don't know." Grant's smile tightened. "Then ignore it." Nadia looked up, eyes shining with fear she was trying to hide. "Grant, why would someone send me a photo of my signature on a power of attorney?" Grant's eyes went still. Just for a second. Still enough that Nadia knew she had hit something real. Then Grant's expression softened quickly. Too quickly, like he was switching masks. "That's fake," he whispered. "Someone's trying to mess with you. Don't fall for it." Nadia's heart hammered. Because if it was fake, why did his eyes look like that? A coordinator approached from the side. Young, nervous, holding a folder. Celeste met her halfway like a gate. "No," Celeste whispered sharply, just loud enough for Nadia to hear. "Not here." The coordinator hesitated. Nadia's voice rose. "Bring it here, please." Celeste turned, smile forced. "Darling, you're overwhelmed. Let's step into the back room." Grant's grip returned, tighter now, guiding her as if helping. Nadia felt her lungs tighten. This was the moment. If she walked into that back room, she would be alone with them. And she suddenly understood why Adrian had been so urgent about proof. Because once they controlled the private space, they controlled the story. Nadia swallowed hard and said the only word she trusted now. "Bluebell." Adrian's head snapped up at the back of the church. He moved. Not running. Moving fast, purposeful, slipping along the side aisle toward a security door. Grant heard the word and frowned. "What did you say?" Nadia's voice shook, but she kept it steady. "I asked for my documents." Celeste's smile vanished. Grant's jaw clenched. And that's when Nadia saw the final piece that made everything inside her click into place. Grant wasn't panicked that the wedding might pause. He was panicked that she might not sign. Because he didn't want a wife. He wanted authority. He wanted access. He wanted control over a life he could hold like a keyring. Outside the church doors, somewhere far away, the city kept moving like nothing was happening. Inside, Nadia's entire future balanced on one answer. But Nadia wasn't answering yet. Not until she knew the truth. Not until she saw what she signed. Not until she understood why strangers were trying to save her from the man she was supposed to love. And when the folder finally reached the altar, hands trembling, pages shifting, Nadia found page 7. And there it was, exactly as the photo showed. Her name, her signature, a clause written like a trap. The room blurred for a moment. Grant leaned in, voice tight. "Nadia." Nadia lifted her eyes, and her voice came out calm in a way that scared even her. "Grant," she said softly, "why would I give you irrevocable power over my money and my body the moment we're married?" The church went dead silent. Grant's smile fell apart. Celeste's face hardened. And Nadia realized the wedding wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of the fight to get her life back.